Hello, how are you all today? My name is Mason Scheck, and I'm currently a student at Mid-State Technical College, where I'm enrolled in law enforcement. And for one of my classes, which is community policing, I was given the topic of trying to find a way to get the police more involved within the community. So my idea basically is that Amherst should start thinking about the bigger picture, about getting a police department. Now, I know it may seem crazy, but as many as you know, our population is growing, and it's growing pretty fast. So our population has grown about 250 people within the last 10 years. Now, I know it might not seem a lot, but we're right next to Highway 10, and we're growing pretty fast. What also helps is that we have some bigger businesses like H.O. Walden and Blanker Construction that are starting to set up shop, drawing in workers, which I believe is going to cause more people to come to Amherst, and hopefully we won't need the police department, but I would better safe than sorry is what I say. Now, recently, the reason why I believe we should get a police department is that there has been an increase in crimes in Amherst. Unfortunately, a couple of months ago, I remember actually a good friend of mine, her sister was almost kidnapped in Amherst Junction. Now, I know it's Amherst Junction, it's considered part of Amherst, and with our police department, I hope to expand it across Buena Vista, Amherst, Stockton, even up north a bit. I can't remember the name of the county, but what also would probably help is that there's been a lot of recent fires around here. I know around my house especially, a good friend of mine, his house caught on fire a while back. A couple other house fires around here, but I believe that if we have a police department, now I know usually the fire department gets there first, and don't get me wrong, I feel like it'd be better to have a police officer on scene before the fire department gets there, as the town of Amherst, their fire department is volunteer, along with the town of Stockton and Buena Vista. They're all volunteer fire departments, meaning that these people are not on call at all times, whereas as a police department, officers would be on excuse me. And so whereas the police department officers would probably be 24/7. Now, we could also do, there's something I've looked into as well. I know Port Edwards, where I've actually internshipped with their police department, they actually have a law enforcement club in school, and they kind of help out around the community, which I think would be a really beneficial idea for ours, along with an auxiliary police, but that's kind of more down the road. I'm also part of Wisconsin Rapids Auxiliary Police, and I think what they do is great. It's nice to have them helping officers. And I especially be awesome. I know a lot of people, when I was interviewing people, said that they'd like to see an increase either with us getting a police department, which is farther down the road, or maybe getting an increase of Portage County law officers in the town of Amherst. Now, a big thing about this, unfortunately, is going to be the cost. Wood has gone up quite a bit. It's hard to find. It sucks, but like I said, it's a future project for down the road. So the cost of a building would probably quite close. I have it written right here, about $150,000 to $250,000. But that's just longballing it. I'm not 100% sure. Costs might go up or down. Usually, I know we could always just buy one of the old. I know the old bank is for sale. We could move the station into there. But like I said, it's a long shot down the road. Now talking about personnel and salary, that really depends as well about how much officers we want to get. In Port Edwards, there's the chief and 2 full-time officers. So that'd cost maybe $150,000, but it's really depending. And also the squad vehicles alone would probably cost about $125,000 to $150,000. And other utilities like squad belts, utility belts, guns, stuff they'd have in the office, probably $25,000 to $50,000. But that's just longballing it as well. Now, I'd also like to talk about how it would benefit the Portage County Sheriff's Department, as they are the ones who usually respond to calls within the town of Amherst. And don't get me wrong, they do a great job. I know a couple officers personally, and it's hard for them to respond when they're all the way in Stevens Point or Plover or even across up in Rothschild. That's about a 10-minute drive, even with the sirens going. And I believe that also helped the town feel safer. I know recently there's been a lot of complaints about on George Street, right next to the school. I know when I went there, it was really bad because students would be driving, I think it's 25 there, students would be going, 15 during the school day. So students before and after school are probably going down that road 40 to 50. And there'd also be students, now I'm not involved in this, but a lot of students will be walking down the middle of the street when there's a sidewalk right there, and it got into a big argument, led to people putting cones out, led to people sitting in their yards yelling at students driving by. I know there was an altercation between a classmate of mine, where a guy actually threatened to get inside her car. It got bad really quick. I mean, for what they've been doing now, I'm not going to complain. It's smarter than what they had before with the cones. But still, I know a lot of students are unhappy with it. And maybe we can find a way to resolve it with putting a police department in the town of Amherst and having maybe a squad or two sit up front there, just making sure everything goes okay. Or just maybe, this is another thing about costs too, but we could also maybe expand the road or put more roads in. I know it's difficult right now. We just started with the Falcon Pride project with our fields. That cost the school quite a bit of money, which helped with the community pitching in as well. So it's honestly a shot in the air for the most part. No, I have my notes here, sorry. When I walked around and interviewed most of you guys, I found that a lot of people think that a police department would be beneficial, but unfortunately, I believe taxes would probably rise up in order to pay for it. I know, going back to Port Edwards, they're hopefully going to acquire some Saratoga land, which is going to shoot the cost up for them as well, but they live on the lake. We obviously don't have a lot of lakes around here, and if we do, it's hard to say right now, but tax-wise, that's going farther down the road, like I've said before. Oh, I guess we'll see what happens. Now, like I said, a lot of people, it was about yes, no, probably about 75% for yes, 25% for no. A couple of people in between, so probably 70-20, maybe a 10% outlier of people who are like, well, what would be beneficial, like I'm explaining now, and maybe what they like to see down the road. I know a lot of them would like to see Portage County Sheriff's deputies more often in the town of Amherst, and if we would eventually get a police department, maybe get some guys from around the community, like Portage County, Stevens Point, Plover. They'd probably be able to help us out quite a bit, because this is really new. Actually, I take that back. It's actually not really new, because back in about 1950s to 1970s, the town of Amherst, excuse me, the town of Amherst actually had a constable. Now, if you don't know what that means, he's basically like, I wouldn't call him a town sheriff exactly, but my grandpa actually used to be a Portage County deputy, and he was telling me a story about how we used to have a jail up in that's his son's name, up in Gary Villeneuve's law office. So there used to be a jail up there, and they'd usually take the town, I hate to say it, but the town drunk would be tossed in there. A couple of people who were would cause ruckuses would be tossed in there. It was kind of cool to learn that, just because not a lot of people knew that we used to have a town constable. And even walking around, I remember asking the town mayor, he said that he vaguely remembered having it, but he thinks he kind of does. It's hard to explain. But, so, I just want to restate everything that I've said. Like I said, the cost-wise, I think it'll be very beneficial for the community, even later down the road. A lot of bigger businesses, Highway 10 especially. I know a couple of guys I played football with last year. A couple of them moved. There's Ian Hall. If some of you know him, he's a new wide receiver. He went to Spash. He didn't get a lot of playing time. He came to Amherst, and he's probably one of our best receivers we've ever had. I know there's a couple other guys. Sam, he's actually the goalie. He took over my spot. And he's actually going to be taking over my spot as a team field goal kicker, which I think is really cool. He came from Wapaka. He moved up here because he wasn't going to get a lot of playing time in Wapaka either, and Amherst were able to allow that. So I feel if that happened, and with a big boost in, like I said, jobs, and I know H.O. Wolding is definitely looking for more to expand, and Blanker as well. I believe that it's going to expand the town even more. I know we've seen a lot of construction recently. I know there's a lot of apartment complexes that have been put in as well. But, excuse me again. Oh, I have a cold. All right. So basically, to restate everything I said, it's just, I believe that this would be beneficial for our town. I know we do see a lot of Portage County presence, not as much as a lot of people would like to see. Like, I spoke to a couple of people saying they maybe see a deputy drive by once a month if they're lucky. I'm not dissing on the department at all, Portage County does a great job. I feel like it's a great county to live in. But I believe that a lot of people like to see more and more of a presence in Amherst. So I just like to say that's my idea. I like to thank you all for trying to listen to it and hopefully come to an agreement with it. I have a paper that I'm going to be excuse me. I have a paper that I'm going to be handing out. It just explains what I said. I added the stuff that I didn't say, restated stuff that I did say. It's just going to include everything that I basically went through. I also have, if you have any questions, you can ask me now. Otherwise, I can just say thank you. God damn it, I'm still. You know what? I did good. Thanks.